Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore and day 7 of Flossmas. Good morning, everybody. I am a little tired and sleepy this morning. Didn't sleep so well last night, but I'm here. I'm excited to talk to you, and I can't believe it is day 7. We are 1 week already into Flossmas. I've so enjoyed talking to you, and I thank you for being here. Alrighty, so let's get going. Did my next section of my stitch for the Festive Mandala from Thread the Needle Designs. So let me show you that. Since it is day 7, I will do a reminder. Let me make sure I know which way I'm showing this. That this is on 18 count Olympia from Mystic Fabrics. So let me show you from a distance. We are growing here with our piece, and let me fold it up and bring. So yesterday was a lot of stitching. I don't know, can you see all of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? So that we had the outline to do of those. Then I did the little pink inside. You can see it better in person than I think you can there. And then I filled in all of those as well. So this one was definitely a bit more stitch heavy sort of day, but it's looking so great. Every time she adds another color and another dimension and shape, it's just so much fun to see how it's going to come about. So I am loving it. Just before I sat down here, I did take a look at the email and got it uploaded to Dropbox, so then I can put it onto Pattern Keeper when I sit down to stitch. So super excited. That's where it is. And I think it's tough to tell when you see the picture, right? So what Vani did is every day, the first page is, the picture, and everything is grayed out except what you're going to stitch. And so you look at it and you're like, oh, that's not that much, right? I mean, those are the famous words from every stitcher. And the next thing you know, 400 stitches later, you're like, oh, wow, okay, maybe that was. So I am not even going to try to attempt to decide if there is a lot today or not. I'm just going to roll with it and enjoy it. So we'll see. We'll see if I get to getting all of it done when you come back tomorrow, hopefully. All right, so that is my daily, I want to call it a secret stitch, but it's not, right? It's a mystery stitch. So really, really enjoying it and love seeing it come alive. And what I like about this is because it's a mandala and it's, full coverage each day, it's just getting a little bit wider and bigger. So it's been very satisfying to do something that's like this. And so I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm not sure I would like other mysteries quite as much as I like this one. So, all right. Next, what else did I do? I have a full finish for you today, but I'm veering off of the regular path we've had for the last 6 days before this. I didn't realize what today. So today is December 7th, which has lots of historical significance. But for today's purpose and what I'm going to show you as my finish, today is actually Delaware Day. And if you don't know, I live in Delaware in the United States. So I thought it would be fun to do a little something to celebrate that. And I then, as I usually do, I was thinking about it. What would I talk to you about? And I throw around some words that I'm not sure that my non-paper crafters would know. So I thought it'd be fun to show you. So I have my iPad because I want to make sure I do say it right. On December 7th, 1787, Delaware earned its status as the first state. The day marks when 10 delegates from each county in Delaware met at the Golden Fleece Tavern in Dover and became the first from the original 13 states to ratify the Constitution. So therefore, Delaware, one of its nicknames is the first state. And a little blurb here, which gave me a chuckle. Delaware's speediness thwarted Pennsylvania's attempt to be the first to ratify the Constitution, which it did 5 days later. So now it wasn't until 1933 that became an actual Delaware holiday. All right, so to celebrate that, I had stitched this. We had one of my all-time favorite swaps from the trading cards was where you live, and people stitched stuff to highlight where they lived. And I stitched a couple things, but it depends on how many come in, whether or not I always swap everything, because if one of my stitches makes it even, then I only swap the one rather than making it odd. So I actually never ended up swapping this. And this is the blue hen, which is the state, state bird, I guess is what you'd call it. Delaware, the University of Delaware, they are the blue hens. And I had taken this from a bigger piece on Delaware, and I had stitched this, which was actually quite fun to stitch. I really actually enjoyed it. So when I didn't send it as a swap, I said, you know what, this would be fun to throw maybe in like spring or something or other to kind of put it out and just have it fun. Now, I did finish it as a circle. I'm not fancy like a lot of stitchers are with the lacing and all of that. I kind of go back to my paper roots, and I use tape, and then in the end, Aleene's tacky glue. And is it perfect? No, there's a little pops a few places here and there where the circle's not perfect, but I used some cardstock and I triple layered it, and I saw this really cute design. If I put it against my fabric here, that it actually, if there are any mistakes, you kind of see the design more than you would see any bumps and lumps in my circle. But I wanted to talk about that because I used a die cut for that. And I thought about, well, my stitcher friends, okay, a lot of you would know what a cricut is because a lot of you have crickets and do die cuts that way. But I'm old school, and then I talk about metal dies and everything. So I thought I would show you what I use. Sorry, it's a big piece over here. Okay, I use something called a Big Shot. So this is what it looks like. Let me take off these pieces for a second. This Big Shot I've had this at least 15 years. It's a workhorse that has earned its weight in gold. Now, I originally bought this through Stamping Up because Stamping Up sold them. I don't believe they do so anymore. There's lots of different companies. Spellbinders has one. I think it's called the Gemini, and there's lots of other ones. Cuttlebug you can cut as well as emboss. But this one right here, what you have is you have a multi-purpose platform. So let me show you that. Put this down for a minute. And so this comes with it. So it's a platform that has multiple layers, and it kind of depends on how thick your die is, whether or not how many layers you use. And then these are, and you can see which one gets cut into, and you can see where I made an accident cut on this one. You have two kind of glass plates that are also part of the sandwich, and one goes on the bottom and one goes on top, and then you cut into, and I use these plates until they can't be used anymore. Then what I do is when this one is completely unusable, this one that was the bottom becomes the top. I think I hope I have a couple left because I don't know if I can still get these. So when you make your sandwich, you put it through here. You do this, it goes through from one side to the other, and it makes its cuts. And so I wanted to show you the dies that I used for this piece. This is a Spellbinders. Spellbinders is a company that sells a lot of metal dies, and in fact, you can actually do an advent calendar, I believe, from them of metal dies. Let me do this again. I didn't get any paper from over here. So this one is an open die. They have ones that are shapes, and this would be a circle set. There's actually two different circle sets. So I have circles that are almost every size. And I cut into comic book board with this using the Big Shot. Make my sandwich, you put it cut side up, you put whatever you're cutting on there, and you run it through. Now, I find the comic book board does make these kind of go through a little bit faster. You know what I mean? They kind of dull a little bit faster because of that, because that is thicker material. But I use cardstock, I use felt, I use comic book board, all with these, which is really fun. And then, when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for a shape, this is from Paper Tray Ink, this one, and this one is a closed die. It depends on the companies, what they do, whether they're open or closed like that. And so sometimes it's a little bit harder to take them out. The dies, not this company. Some companies will have tiny little circles that you can use like an awl to poke through or whatever. But what I did was, once I had my cut circle, I kind of laid it in, and I thought, oh, it's going to be tight, but it's going to work. And you'd have just that little section poking out. And so I cut it once with the cardstock. I actually had done felt, but I didn't have the color felt I had. I thought it was going to work, and it didn't work. So then I had to reevaluate. I just went with dark cardstock, and one layer I was going to just do 2 layers, and I actually said, nope, let's do a triple layer to make it nice and thick and sturdy. And you just tape them together, threw a little ribbon on there, and there you go. So now when you hear me talking about metal dies and die cuts and things like that, these are some of the different ones. I have fancy shapes. I have different things. You can layer and create designs with them and all kinds of things like that with it too. And it's a little old school, but I don't mind it. And this will be my little ornament for Delaware Day. And since it is in December, I might throw him on my tree actually, and then he can also come out other times of the year. But I thought this was really fun. I really like, a lot of times I'll do scallops. In fact, there's one that I'm looking at that I might finish in the next week or two, and I think it's a circle. If I do it as a circle, I want to do probably the scallops edge on that because it's kind of a little bit more delicate. But I thought this would be kind of fun. It's almost like the rooster and well, it's a blue hen, right? But think about like when the rooster in the morning and the little sun, and it looks like a little sunburst. So I kind of went with that. That's the theme I'm going with, and I'm sticking with that. So have you used any sort of die cutting machine? Maybe you use the Cricuts, or have you used this kind of thing before? There's some really great options and things you can do with these. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm certainly not an expert by any means, but I have used them for a long, long time and have cut a lot of things out of these machines, and I'd be happy to help if I can. All right, so that is it, my friends. Today, I did a little bit of finishing yesterday, extra finishing, so I know I have a few days coming up of I know what I'm going to show you for finishes, and I'm super excited. So I hope you'll come back tomorrow and the days after that. So until next time, happy stitching.